Welcome back to Windy Acres Stables. Today we're going to talk about how we saddle and bridle a horse to prepare them for a lesson. So, a couple things we need to get out before we even get our horse onto the cross ties. We need our saddle here. We need our saddle blanket, making sure we also have our girth. Then we're going to make sure we have our horse's bridle. And we're going to make sure that we also have, for most of our lessons, we have a yoke, which helps our riders to help stabilize them during a trot, or gives them something to hold on to, and a lead V, okay? So we'll show you how all those things become important. So the first thing I'm going to put on is this yoke, okay? Because this is going to attach through the girth. So my yoke just looks like this. I'm going to disconnect one side. I'm going to bring it around. Oh, love your forelock tuck. Okay. And then I'm going to reattach my cross tie here. And I'm going to do the same on the other side. I'm disconnect my cross tie, pull my yoke down, and then reattach my cross tie. The next thing I'm going to do is I am going to put my saddle pad on. So my saddle pad, the way to always remember it is the straps go to the front and the dirty side goes down, and also the straps down the outside. Okay? I'm going to start with my saddle pad fairly far forward. Really important in the summer because as my horse twitches to get the flies off, that saddle pad's going to slide down. Then I'm going to gently place my saddle onto my horse. So easiest way to support it is putting my left hand up here and my right hand back here, and then that way I can gently place it onto the horse, not throw it onto the horse. You'll see this saddle also has a half pad on it, and the half pad stays attached to the saddle. Some of our horses have a black half pad that comes on and off. You want to make sure that it is placed the same way that if you looked at the underside of the saddle, it would be the same. So I've got my saddle nicely placed with the saddle pad obviously having a nice even distribution on either side. I pull up here at the wither to make sure this doesn't pull down on my horse. And if you've noticed, I've left my saddle fairly far forward. And I've done that for a reason, because I want to do my final adjustment of the saddle right before I do up my girth. So my girth here has two different ends. I've got an end that has an elastic and I have an end that doesn't have an elastic. Some will have two elastics, that's fine, doesn't matter which direction you put them on. But one that has one elastic on one side, the side that doesn't have the elastic is going to be on my horse's right side. So if I come on this side, again making sure I'm going under my cross ties, I'm going to come through the strap here, so it holds my saddle pad in place. If I do have these straps, I'm going to tuck them under and around my billets. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to slide and put, usually it's the first and the third billet. And I'm going to slide. When I'm sliding these up, I'm always making sure that I'm going to slide them up on the top hole that has the roller, not on the hole below, because if I put it on the hole below, it's going to be really hard to get this thing off. Again, I still really haven't adjusted my saddle to where it's going to finally sit. When I come on this side though, I'm going to make sure all my pads are flat, that my saddle is sitting flat as well. So now I'm going to come to the other side, and this is when I'm finally going to make sure my saddle is in the right position. So I'm going to clasp on either end of the saddle, right under the saddle pad. I'm going to slide it back, and you'll literally feel it kind of slide into a groove. And to check that it's in the correct place, you're going to actually feel for their shoulder blade. It should sit behind their shoulder blade. Again, I'm going to clasp this guy around if I have them. Okay. Now I'm going to reach for my girth. I'm not going to stick my head under the horse. Okay. I'm going to make sure I'm reaching nicely with my arm, watching where this horse's legs are. Now you can see I have to now put this yoke onto the girth. So it's going to slide up there, and then I'm going to make sure it's placed in between the horse's legs nice and evenly. Not on one side or the other, because that could rub. Then I'm going to again bring my girth through the saddle pad and we're going to slide it up. Again, usually it's the first and the third onto the billets. I'm not going to go overly tight here. A lot of times the side with the elastic, I'm going to do just probably right on the bottom. This is going to be my final tightening with the elastic. So if I go too high now on this side, I'm going to have to tighten on the side that doesn't have the elastic, which is going to be much more difficult. So what I'm going to do now, before I'm finished here, is I'm going to come on the other side. And I'm going to go up as high as I kind of can, slowly obviously, not pulling uncomfortably at the horse. So I'm going to pull up one side and then the other. Okay? And then I'm going to make sure that I can go as high as I can here. That's the level I would leave that horse at before the instructor comes out. Okay? It needs to be snug, but it doesn't need to be overly tight. Okay? Now before I bridle the horse, I'm going to take a look at my rider's stirrup length, and I'm going to make sure from their records that I'm going to have the stirrups already adjusted to that length. So what I'm going to do here is bring the stirrup down, and I have my tape measure. And my tape measure is going to go right at the top of the buckle here, and it's going to come all the way down to the foot plate. So you can see this one's at 26 inches. So if my rider was shorter, then I would pull this out, and I would make my stirrup shorter, pull the back down, and then measure it again. So now I should be shorter than 26. So again, up here, now I'm at 24. Okay? So that's the way we adjust our stirrups for a rider. Then we can run them back up the back and kind of slide them through where the elastic is. So now the next step we're going to do is we're going to get our bridle and our lead V attached to our horse. I want to make sure everything's nice and close, and we want to make sure that we're not dropping anything into the middle of the aisle. So here I have my bridle with my noseband and my reins and my bit. I'm going to detach one side so I can put the reins up and over my horse's head. I'm going to make sure they stay kind of right behind their ears. I don't want them to be way back here. If they're way back here, then I'm not going to be able to, if that horse moves, it's not going to help me. So this is what's going to secure my horse while I am putting the bridle on. I unclasp my halter. I undo my cross tie from the other side. Then I'm going to slide the halter off. I'm going to put it either can be on my arm. It could go over onto the edge. We just don't want to drop it right down to the ground. Then what we're going to do is my right hand is what is going to slide up the horse's nose to put the halter or put the bridle on. And my left hand is going to just guide the bit in. It doesn't push the bit in, it guides the bit in. My right hand, which is around the horse's nose, is what's going to lift that bit into their mouth. Okay, once the bit is in, then I take two hands. I take my far side, my ear with my right hand, push it forward so I can loop the head stall over top. And I do the same thing with their left ear, with my right hand, and then I pull out, he's got quite the forelock, pull out their forelock. Now, two straps that we have to do up now are our throat latch here. And we're going to do that so that our horse has 4 fingers worth of tightness. We're going to put them through the keepers, so 4 fingers here. So we don't need it doesn't need to be really tight, but it's 4 fingers, turn sideways. And then our noseband, we'll do the same here. We're going to do it up, and we're going to have 2 fingers worth of tightness through here, again running through our keepers. So 2 fingers, again turn sideways. He's very hairy, so it's hard to see, but 2 fingers turn sideways. So now this, a lot of our horses can be on the bit or they could be on the noseband. So that's going to depend on your rider, on whether they're going to be on the bit or on the noseband. So this would be on the noseband, this would be on the bit. To finish preparing our horse for a lesson, to come out for a lesson, is we need to put the lead V on. The lead V will always sit on the bit in front of the rein on either side. Okay? Once this is attached, this is what I'm going to lead with. And I want to make sure my reins aren't going to go sliding over and get caught in the horse's legs. So I'm going to take them and put them through what we call here a pommel strap. And we're going to tie them so that they are now secured. We don't want to tie them too tight so when the horse is moving, it's pulling on them. Same time, we don't want to tie them too loose that my horse can step their leg through. So before we're finished, we want to do a quick survey to make sure that our horse is properly prepared. Their lead V is up in front of the bit. Their nose band is properly adjusted. It's in the middle of the horse's nose. Their forelock is pulled out. Their throat latch is attached. Our keepers are all nicely snugged in, so there's no flapping leather. Our reins are nicely attached. Our yoke is nicely in the middle of our horse's chest, not on one side or the other. I've adjusted my rider's stirrups so they're ready for the lesson. And my girth isn't horribly tight, but it's snugged up. Okay, at this point, we can say our horse is ready to go for their lesson. Now, another really important thing that we need to show is how we actually untack our horse. So that when they're finished their lesson, how do we get all this equipment back off of them? So it's pretty much the reverse. We're going to start by untying our reins from the pommel strap, bringing them forward right behind the horse's ears. We're going to detach our lead V here, put that to the side. We're going to make sure our halter is ready to put on our horse's nose. Then we're going to detach the throat latch, or throat lash, depends on who you're talking to. We're going to detach that. We're going to detach the nose band. Okay, once those are loose, then when we're taking the bridle off, we have to remember that horses have teeth at the front of their mouth. At the back of their mouth, there are no teeth where the bit is. So we have to be gentle as we remove the bit so it doesn't land on these teeth in the front and scare them. So we're going to pull the headstall over. We're going to slowly let the horse drop the bit out of their mouth. We're going to put it on our other arm. And we're going to take the halter and we're going to put the halter on our horse's nose. Again, we're going to bring the ears forward as we put our halter on. We're going to do up our halter in the throat area. Then we're going to attach them to the cross ties. I'm just going to bring my rein forward while I attach this one. And then I'm going to come to the other side. I'm going to bring the rest of my reins off, making sure that nothing's touching the ground. Okay, I don't want to get caught. I don't want my horse getting caught. And then I'm going to attach here. So now I've got my bridle off. I'm going to put that to the side so I can take my saddle off. I know he's going to adjust his beautiful forelock. When I go to disconnect the girth, I want to make sure first that my stirrups have been run up, that they're out of the way, they're not hanging down, because moving the saddle around with them hanging down is never fun. I'm going to detach on the elastic side. So it'll be a whole ton easier to detach my girth from the elastic side. Detach both of them. I'm going to let my girth fall down. I'm going to run my yoke out of my girth. Then I'm going to go to the other side of my horse and I'm actually going to undo the girth fully and place it on top of the saddle. I want to do that so that I don't want this hanging and dragging as I'm trying to bring the saddle back. I'm going to put that on top, and now I can actually go to the other side, mainly because my saddle rack is here. And I can pick up the saddle and the saddle pad, the whole bit, nicely up and over. And then I can take my saddle and my saddle pad, and I can just slide it nicely onto my saddle rack. And then I can take my saddle pad off. If it's got its little keepers on, its little straps, that's why it's not removing itself. So I'm going to just take just the saddle pad off, removing my little keepers. Okay. We're going to just remove just the saddle pad, not the half pad. Going to lay this on top, and my saddle is ready to be put away. The last thing that I need to remove is the yoke. Again, keeping my horse secured on one side at all times. I'm going to bring this around, reattach. My saddle's kind of got my cross tie, whoops, and that's why we keep them attached. Then I'm going to bring it over on this side, detach this side, bring it through, and reattach. So, before I'm finished with my horse, I'm going to take my hard brush, and I'm just going to brush the area where the equipment was sitting to make sure that my horse is comfortable on both sides. And then especially if I was out on the road or anywhere where there was rocks, I'm going to do a quick hoof pick around to make sure that my horse hasn't picked up anything. Then I would put my horse away, and then finally I would put all of my equipment away. I shouldn't leave my horse unless I have someone watching them. I shouldn't leave my horse to go put my equipment away. My horse should go away first. Again, if you have any questions, you're going to talk to your instructor. You're going to talk to your horsemanship instructor. Always make sure everything is clear. Always make sure that you're learning and that you're comfortable with any task that you do.